And thank you all that have joined me in this little epic that I'm going to do, speaking about the Underground Railroad, the Atlantic crossing, the plantations, the Runaways, the abolitionists, and how we started. The tall ships. And these are my paintings that I've done. And I am a person that solely believes that in my spirit, I've been there. I feel I have felt the pain that some of the people that were taken from Africa, mainly the west coast of Africa, were in these ships, the hull of these ships. Sometimes the seas were very rocky. And if you've never been on a boat, I get seasick. And I think a lot of the Africans probably were the same way. They weren't on the big ocean. They may have been on the river or such, but not on the big ocean. Being on the big ocean, making their stomach sick. And all the things that those people went through, the treachery that they went through. And down here is a painting showing. You may not be able to see it really plain, but these are, if you can see them, these are the Africans and how it shows how they were all stuffed together. Side to side, back to back, front to front, men, women, children, with all the horribleness of sickness. Some died. Some died because they couldn't take that journey. And then they were just thrown overboard. And all those that were chained to that same link, they all went overboard as well. So, I didn't bring my painting of the landing because it is a very large painting, but it shows where the tall ships had landed. It could have been in South America, could have been in the Caribbean, it could have been in the Americas, North America. And what it shows is as the Africans embarked off of the boat, chained together, sickly, it just shows that they were put on an auction block and sold. This is very emotional for me. And even as I paint, I get very emotional. And it's because my spirit has hooked up with their spirit. We should never, as human beings, ever treat anyone like they're subhumans, because we're not. We're all one people. God created us, male and female, and that's who we are. And this sickness that has taken over, it has to be changed. In 1619, the first African to ever be listed or registered, they called her Angela, but her real name was Angela. And from there, I believe that's where all of this started, in Virginia. One of the first people to die in the American Revolution was Crispus Attucks, because he believed in freedom. It's really strange about a thing called freedom. Today, and I'll say this, with COVID, we're no longer free. We have to take this, we have to do that, we have to distance ourselves. That's a form of taking your freedom from you. How does it feel? These poor people from Africa who never knew the language, couldn't understand what was saying. If they said turn to the right or turn to the left, they had no idea what was being said because there was a language difference. And I will admit there were Africans that sold Africans. There were the Portuguese, the Spaniards, and a lot of the English. Now, we can play any kind of game we want to play, but the truth is the truth. And I believe it is not as, it's a horrible thing. And only the truth will set you free. So now I'm going to tell you about and I should sing just one little song. It says, forced from home and all its pleasures, Africa coast, I left forlorn to increase a stranger's treasure. Mines are never to be sold. Men from England bought and sold me, paid my price in paltry gold. But though the slave, they cannot hold me. We're going to go to the plantation. Now, the plantation, people know all about the plantation. There we have the master who owns the plantation. There we have the overseer that sees over the enslaved. There we have people that have beaten, mutilated, hung, tarred and feathered these people for what? Because maybe they were tired. They worked from dawn, sunrise to sunset with little to eat and little water. Yet they were already prepared to do what the master has said. Some of the women were taken from their men and had no recourse. If they fought, they may have killed them. Their children were snatched, babies taken from their mothers, brothers from sisters, the buck, as they called him, going from plantation to plantation, making more babies. I don't know about anybody else, but I can say this about me. I see somebody on TV and I recognize, I said, oh my goodness, he looks just like my brother. Oh my goodness, she looks just like my sister. And we don't know which plantation where this buck went that we are not a part of each other. But I'll say this for sure, those that were going to run, they ran. And there was nothing in this world that was going to stop. They had that intestinal fortitude. So here is a painting that I've done of the Runaways. And they were working in the plantation. And see, these are the people in the forefront. But you see all these people back here? As they left, as they ran, all of a sudden, they were gone. And as they left, the overseer would be looking for certain people, but couldn't find them. They prepared themselves for the run. They had food that they would go into the hut and take the smoked hut, take pieces of ham. They would take garlic, onions, potatoes, sweet potatoes, anything that they could eat on their journey, because their journey was going to be a long journey, never knowing from one point to the next point whether they were going to be caught or murdered or just have to go for days without food. We're also so grateful for the abolitionists, the Quakers. The people came to help us. And they loved us because they knew all men were created equal. Levi Coffin, a conductor on the Underground Railroad, his friend Jonathan Cable. There were not only white abolitionists, there were Black abolitionists. Abe Shad was another one that's well known, and the Shad family, they're in Buxton to this day. There was also a man by the name of William Steele, who was another conductor, who, with Harriet Tubman, helped many escape through the Underground Railroad. Now we know the Underground Railroad had many codes: conductor, package, conductor, passage, station, terminus. Once they got to Canada West, this area, which is Sandwich, we say it is the first of the last stops on the Underground Railroad. They went from Georgia, they went from Maryland, they went from South Carolina, they went, some say, even as far as Texas. They came through the Underground Railroad, always having help from the indigenous people, because they were the people that could tell them how to run and where to run, what berries they could eat, what food that would help them. The abolitionists had this saying: when an African came, a runaway, they would say, "Are you a friend of a friend?" And if you were a friend of a friend, they would tell you where to go, which station that you would go to find food and shelter. Now, from there was also quilts with different signs on them that would go from the windows. They would hang them out the windows. They would put them on the line. And as the people, the runaways that knew the codes, they would look out there and see that. Once they saw that, they knew they could run. They knew that the time is coming. And when the time comes, they have to be ready. They can't fool around. They have to be ready. Some people were put in false bottom wagons and carried away with somebody with a horse and buggy. Some just ran and hid. Now, this is a picture of my Harriet Tubman. Now, Harriet didn't play with all the people that she had. She didn't have time. If you said you wanted to go to freedom, she was taking you. And by God, she meant exactly that. She had not only a big gun, she also had a rifle and was not afraid to use it. Although she would say, "I never lost a passenger," she never did. We don't know how many people she brought, but we absolutely know this part of town, Sandwich, is where they came through. Maybe Windsor, but it was all Sandwich at one point in time. These are the runaways. They're prepared to run. Children, it's night. They had to run in the darkness. There was no lights. Like we have street lights. We're so blessed to have a street light. But now these people are running, and the only light they have, if there's the moon and if the stars are out. If it's been overcast, they had no way of finding which way they were going. Now they are told, always look for the North Star, the brightest star in the sky. That'll lead you to your freedom. And if you can't find it because of the clouds, feel that side of the tree where the moss grows. Now, some people say, "Oh, that's just a myth." Who knows? Maybe it is. But for those people that struggled and fought their way to freedom, it was real to them. Now, this is an actual picture, and I don't know if you can see it. This is an actual picture that was donated to our museum of a plantation with the African people that were probably the people that they were helping. They may have been people that didn't want to leave the plantation. We know that when Abraham Lincoln passed the Emancipation Proclamation, a lot of the people didn't know where to go. They didn't know how to live. Where were they going to go? Lincoln did a good thing in one way and not so good in another, because the African or the enslaved person, they didn't have a home, they didn't have a job, they didn't have. Now, not that the people were ignorant, they were never taught. And if we don't teach, even to this day, if we do not teach that which is true, we're going to fall into that same horrible state. We are too far. We're into the 21st century. We should not be repeating what happened back in the 18th and the 19th century. We should be more intelligent than that. And I know that it's not an easy thing. People do and people want, but people ought to know that we are somebody. We just didn't drop into North America. We were brought into North America, not with the will of wanting to come, but against our will. And we know that today there are survivors. There are people that will fight to do that which is right. Now we have, here's another one of the paintings. And I always call this painting Donna and Lana, or Mary and Martha, because this is how we did. This is the kitchen of a Virginia home, and they're preparing a meal. Now, they could be preparing a meal for the master. It's a kitchen where they cooked. This is another picture of another Virginia kitchen where people, this picture is so humble to me. It's a very humble picture. They're respectful and humble, even though some of the things that they went through were not easy. Now, one of the songs that we're sang, and my voice is really not good today, but anyways, I'm gonna sing it because I said I was. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. If you get there before I do, coming for to carry me home. Tell all my friends I'm coming for to carry me home. So they knew they were about to make their journey. And when they made their journey, they probably come across so many different things in life. They probably had no idea once they hit the shores of Canada West what was going on. We do know there was a man by the name of Henry Bibb, who was an editor of the Voice of the Fugitive. And the Voice of the Fugitive was a newspaper that would go back to the States, telling them when the cargo had reached the shores of Canada West, saying, quote, "We here at Canada West, we just received a package. Well, there were 13 hens, 12 chickens, but for some reason, there were no roosters." Now that code was saying how many women, how many children, and there were no men. And Henry Bibb was such an abolitionist. He was such a man that he died very early, but all through his life, he did many things. He was in the United States, he was in Virginia, he was in Kentucky, he did things in Puce, he went to Toronto, he went all over. And by the age, I believe, of 47 or 48, he died from consumption. But he was right here in this area here, just like Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman. These people were all in this area doing what had to be done so that freedom could be exposed. Now, I'm not going to let Canada get off the circuit, because Canada did the exact same thing as the United States when it came to the enslaved people. Not all of them, but some. They were still enslaved. They were called servants and not slaves. So John Gray Simcoe is one of the people that asked that this be abolished. And we're always, all people of African descent, especially here in Canada, should be so grateful for William Wilberforce, who went, I believe, 18 or 19 times to Parliament in England to have slavery eradicated. That was his job. And before he could even see it or know that it had happened, he died. And there are universities in Ohio, and I know the AME churches are very beholden to William Wilberforce, because a lot of the young people would go there to school. William Wilberforce, what a man. Queen Victoria even was another good woman. Although she knew about the slavery, but at least she said, no more, no more. So in 1833, the Proclamation of Emancipation went forth. And that's why we today can celebrate August 1st as a national, I won't say holiday, but as a national remembrance of the emancipation of the African. And that's who we are, Africans. And there are so many inventions that we have invented. We came here empty-handed, but not empty in the brain. We became very forceful in things that we would do. The inventions that people would do, let's see. How about the ironing board? Sarah Boone discovered the ironing board. Did you know that? A home security system, an African nurse by the name of Mary Van Britten Brown. That's, you know, that system that we use to see if somebody's coming in, done by a Black woman. That's amazing. Garrett Morgan, you know, the 3 light, red, yellow, and green. He invented the electric light that stop on one side and go on the other. That's amazing. He improved the sewing machine. Don't think Singer did it. I don't have the man's name, but I know Singer was not the first sewing machine in North America. It may be the biggest, but it wasn't the first. And Garrett Morgan always and also made the gas mask that has saved many a coal miner's life. Frederick McKinley Jones, he invented the refrigerator trucks that carry blood plasma back and forth to this day. Did you know that? I didn't. Alexander Miles, a mechanism that would open and close automatically the doors on an elevator. Because otherwise, if you did it manually, you had the possibility of falling. Many people, they said, fell to their death. And Dr. James E. West created a sensitive and compact microphone while working at Bell in 1960, along with his German colleague, Gerhard Cecil. Lewis Howard Ladder. You know the light that they always said, Thomas Edison? Well, the carbon filament, which made the light last longer in the bulb, was one of the talents that he did. He did drafting, and he had many patents. He co-invented and improved a bathroom for the railroad. Probably never heard of him. Mark Dean co-invented in 1980 to 1999 the first IBM and color monitor, and invented the first gigahertz processor. Madam Walker, most African-American women or African-Canadian women or Black women or women that have really curly hair know that she has, she created many products for the Black hair care. Thomas J. Lennings, an emancipated enslaved person, was the first person to be granted a US patent doing dry cleaning. Dry cleaning. That's just one of the things. George Washington Carver, the Peanut Man. Granville Woods and Elijah McCoy. Wow, what can you say about Elijah McCoy? Elijah McCoy was very instrumental in doing the, so that the trains, the couplers, so that he could do, and I never get it right, but anyways, it's a mechanism that they didn't have to stop the train to put the oil back into the wheels. They could keep going. The coupler would change the oil, would increase the oil so that the train would keep going. And why? There were many people that tried to copy this man. And that's where that saying goes, the real McCoy. The real McCoy, not the whiskey, because many people say at Walkerville Distillers, oh, this is the real McCoy. No, the real McCoy was Elijah McCoy, who grew up in Harrow and was educated in Scotland. Very brilliant man. Then we have Patricia Bath, Benjamin Banneker. Now, he did the almanac. He is the one, saw one time the printing, the architectural drawings of Washington, D.C. and the White House. He only saw it one time. It was from a man from England. He got angry with the Americans and took his papers and said, I'm going back home. So you're on your own. But Benjamin Banneker had such a memory that he was able to go back and reproduce everything that he saw. He also did the clock, Benjamin Banneker. Otis Boykin, Percy DeLon Julian, Henry Blair, Phyllis B. Downing. That's just to name a few. How much time? I don't know. Let's see. I don't want to overrun my story.
Can someone tell us?
Can someone tell me the time? I have one more thing to do. Oh,
It is
It's
7:35.
25 minutes to 8.
okay, 25 minutes to 8.
25?
25. Good, thank you. I'm sorry. And my story is, hi Lois. Thank you. My story is, I was born here in Windsor, Ontario, and I am a part of the Artists of Color. The Artists of Color, I think, is one of the jewels in the crown here in this area, Windsor area. We were blessed to have had, I believe, 12 or 13 occasions where we had at Mackenzie Hall some of the nicest African Canadian exhibits. We have done acting, we've done singing, we have done art. And from 2008 to present, we've never had anything like that. So I am just grateful for the artists of color who have said we're going to do a thing and we've done it. We have writers, we have authors, we have artists, and we all do the same thing. We love our community. Dennis Smith is the chairperson of the Artists of Color, and I am the co-chair. And we work together because we feel we want our art, we want our story to be told. Because we have been left out of the equation. And it's time that people fess up and say, yes, we haven't done you right. We have done things that have crippled you. And still, as Angela Miles said, and still we rise. We will not be defeated. We will continue to work. And when we're dead and gone, we hope that the next generation will carry the torch. Because if they don't carry the torch, then we do die. We don't die, as one of the people was saying, we multiply. We are not going to die and let everything that we have done die with it. I want to speak too of the Our Day Study Club. Beautiful, 87 years in existence. These are ladies that have taken the torch in their hand to make sure that there are the youth when they need money to help them through their education. Plus, the youth have to have pretty good standing. They have to go to school. They have to get good marks, but they're doing it. And we offer scholarships for them. And I think that's such a wonderful thing. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to put your hand out there. If you need something, ask somebody. We're losing too many of our youth to the drugs. So many people, I just cannot imagine how many people have died in the last 2 years. I just can't imagine it. It's very frightful. All I'm saying is, people, there's a reason why we're here, why we stand and do the things we do. We can't live in the past. The past is done. It's today that counts and our future. We have gone through all the things of the Underground Railroad. We fought, we ran, we were beaten, we were hung. But we sought our freedom. And freedom is so important. And that's why I say, do not waste your time on foolishness. Do not waste your time. And I would love the youth to be here so that they can hear these words. There's a better tomorrow, only if you stand and believe what you're standing for. There's so much we can do. We have to be able to, if you feel like painting, paint. If you feel like writing, write. If you feel like going to school and getting the best education you can, go to school, get the best education you can. Do what it takes to let you make a mark in your life. Doesn't matter what people think of you. And if you make a mistake, it's okay. Get back up and keep on moving. Mistakes are made all the time. That's why they say they put rubbers on pencils. And so you can erase that. And let us as a people not be hateful or angry. Let's work together because we're all human beings. Don't make fun of this one and don't make fun of that one because they are different. We are all human beings from the core. I have had problems my whole life and I probably will till I die. It's okay, but I keep moving forward. People ask me to do things. I don't know if I can do them. I say, sure, I'll do it. You know why? That's who I am. I would help anybody. And I think our seniors above all, they really need a hand up. They're struggling in this pandemic. And I think some people know it. Oh, I'm a senior too, so it doesn't matter. I'm struggling too. But I want people to know that there's always people that will lend a helping hand. And we have to really be able to lend that hand. And we as seniors, we should be able to help the youth and help them over some of the hurdles that they haven't yet met, because they're going to meet them. Those hurdles are going to come. And I want us as a people to help each other. Martin Luther King's Day, one thing I can say, there's a picture that they put on with Martin Luther King with his hand out like this. You can't see me, but I am there. I am so far in the middle of those people. And it's a wonderful feeling. I can say, I don't know how I've done the things I've done, but God has placed me in places where he wants me to be. And like I said, I was able to take my sister, my friend, my girlfriend, Josephine, my granddaughter, Derica. I was able to take them to the end. Carl, my friend Joanne's grandson, take them to the inauguration of Barack Obama. I know a lot of people talk about, well, he could have did this, he could have did that. Probably did the best he could. He did better, and we're going to continue to do better. We as a people have to. And one other song that I'm going to sing, and it says, over my head, I hear music in the air. Over my head, I hear music in the air. There must be a God somewhere. Over my head, I feel joy in the air. Over my head, I feel joy in the air. There must be a God somewhere. Over my head, I feel freedom in the air. Over my head, I feel freedom in the air. There must be a God somewhere. One of the people that I would like to speak about is Christine Savage. She was a very young lady, and she was born, I believe, in Georgia, where they had red clay. Now, Christine Savage was, she was probably brought up on a farm because she started making clay animals, little clay animals, ducks and pigs and chicks, all these things. Wow, what a woman she became. But the sadness with her father moved to Florida, and her grade 5 teacher, which approximately, I believe she would have been maybe 10 years old, maybe 11 or 9, depending on her birth. And the teacher said, I will pay you $2 a week to make these clay animals and teach this in my art class. Can you imagine a teacher paying a little student $2 a week to do this? I thought that was marvelous. Well, she kept doing the things she knew how to do, the best she could do. And at one point when she passed through her high school years, she was promised to go to Paris, France, to this art school. We know back in the, I believe it's in the 20s or 30s, they were not letting Black students go to Paris and have their way paid. There were some very highfalutin people that said if she was to go, that they would take their children out of the art program. And to me, that was such a horrible thing to do to a young woman. She's probably maybe 16 or 17, but probably better than any of them. And she came back and she started doing her own thing. She worked, she went to New York, she worked, she had a few things that she had to do. And then she lost her job. Then she had to leave her apartment. And then she had to just be out on the streets trying to make it. Well, she did very well. She made beautiful, beautiful pieces of clay art. And they say there's a harp, and I believe it's James Weldon who did this harp, and that's the song Lift Every Voice and Sing was from. And that's from her harpist. And there was, I think, one called Poor Boy, just the face. But because she was so hurt, she had broke all her clay things up. And some of them were so big and she had no place to put them. And that's a sadness. Why? When you have a talent, are you rejected? And those are some of the things that happen to us. Rejection. Why? Can only be our skin tones because we're male and female, right? No matter what your preference is, you're still a human being. And this is what I don't understand. I like Christina Savage. And I hope one day that my art will be a remembrance of the things that I've done here in this earth. Yep, this is the Runaways, Mama, Papa, and the kids. It almost feels like the kids don't want to go, but they have to. And Harriet, you know, she always wore something on her head because she had that bad scar when she was hit in the head with that piece of iron. And this is the log cabin with a place to hide. And there's potatoes, and there's their dishes and their pots and pans and the things they have for storage. If you notice, all these children have books in their hands because they could read. They could read, they probably could write. And I'm assuming this is the dad and this is the mama and these are the older kids. And I'm thinking these two little boys were twins and this was a son and this was a baby girl. And I think this child would have been cross-cultured. And I think this child may have belonged to one of the two abolitionists, because the abolitionists would take their lives into their hands to help free the people. The cotton pickers, see the little water, but lots of cotton, lots of cotton. And this back here, I just tried to make it look like there was the plantation and there were the houses back there. But above all, you know, people thought that the cotton was the biggest part of the North American industry back then, which it probably was, but along with sugar. Sugar in South America and the Caribbean was very important because they could make the rum. They could do all of that with the sugar. And today, sugar is a killer, is it not? That's the one thing they tell us to stay away from. Too much sugar, and sugar is put into everything. I think my time is up, and I thank you for your time, for coming along with me on a little Underground Railroad, just a little jaunt, because in 100 years, I don't think we could tell the true story of those people.